So Fractal just released the VP4 not that long ago. It's their new effects unit, and it's just an effects unit. You have 4 effects, each with 4 channels. You also have the scenes functionality from the Fractal ecosystem, and this is meant to go in front of your amplifier or in 4-cable method, purely just an effects unit. Now, being a player that primarily uses Fractal equipment, I have my Axe effects over there in my rack. I've got my FM9 down there, my FM3 down on the other side. What do I think of this product? Is it for me? Is it something that I would pass on? And not to leave you waiting for that long, but it's kind of a pass for me. I'm not super into it. Not that I don't think that Fractal puts out great stuff. I think it's probably going to be a great product. It's very high quality stuff. Their effects are amazing, but I came into the Fractal ecosystem primarily for the amp modeling and for the gig solutions, the rig solutions. So in this video, I'm going to give you some of my reasons why the VP4 is kind of a miss for me. What's up, everyone? My name is Matthew Dale. I am here to help you play better, sound great, and understand more. And as I mentioned earlier, I am primarily a Fractal user. And if you want to download some of my favorite Fractal tones for yourself, you can do so for free by going to matthewdale.com/blocks. Download my block library. There is a helpful tutorial to get it up and running on that website. And you can enjoy some of my favorite tones for yourself. So I'm checking out the VP4. I heard about this thing, and it was kind of hyped up for a little while. There was a video with Andy Wood that came out, and he said, well, you know, I'm playing this new product. Can't really discuss it much, but I'll give you a little hint. I'm an amp guy, so do with that what you will. And so as this was released, it's primarily a effects unit. No amps, no cabs, nothing like that. I think there's some really interesting stuff from Fractal here, where we have the MIDI on the 1/8-inch TRS. We have USB-C. One of the first times I've ever seen a 9-volt barrel plug on the back of a Fractal unit, which kind of makes sense. This is meant to live on a pedal board. We got SPDIF in and out, 2 pedal jacks, which is great, and then stereo ins and stereo outs, and that's basically it. Primarily, this is just a pedal. It's a good pedal. I think it's a very good pedal. 4 switches, but as a guy that is continuously selling off my collection of pedals, because I'm not using them. I'm just using my FM3, my FM9, and my Axe FX3, save one pedal that I'll talk about here in a little bit. I'm just not a pedal guy anymore. So this is not a product for a guy like me. I think the channels functionality, the scenes functionality on this is going to be really great for people that are using this in their more traditional guitar rigs with amplifiers, whether they're going, just straight in or 4-cable method, doing that sort of thing. And this is probably a really good introduction for people into the Fractal ecosystem that also don't want to make the leap into the amp modeling. Now, for me, I wanted to make the leap. I was ready for the amp modeling. I played traditional rigs for a long time. When I started touring with a stage production, I needed a silent stage solution, which at first, my first year of that tour, I did. I took my amp head, I loaded it down into a load box. I ran it direct from a Hughes & Kettner red box, and I still had my analog pedal board. And honestly, it worked okay. It was kind of underwhelming. It was just all right. It worked for what I needed it to do, but it was really long to set up, and it didn't really give me great tone. It gave me good tone. Like, it was fine. But it wasn't like an immersive tonal experience. The next year, I got a Boss GT1000, and immediately, with the way that I had dialed in my patches and my presets and everything, I not only had better and more consistent tone out of my gear, but I also had easier setups. And it was like, I was sold on the modelers at this point in this generation of modelers. Okay, I'm not feeling like I'm missing out on anything. This sounds really good. I'm going with it. Still hung on to my amplifiers for a while, but only used my GT1000. Then I figured, well, if I'm only using this GT1000, which I think is an overall pretty good product, I might as well try like the good stuff. Whether that would be like going the Helix route or the Fractal route. I really loved every single video review that I saw of the Fractal amp modeling. I was like, these guys are doing the amp modeling. Thought about maybe a Kemper at some point, but the amp modeling and the way they did component modeling appealed to me. Plus, they have a huge library of amp models and everything. So, went with Fractal, immediately loved it, and then immediately found out that they have extremely high quality effects within these units, hence the VP4. So, when I see this, I'm like, I want the amp modeling. Why would I buy this? I think this is a really interesting solution. This could also pair really nice with the FM3, and I think it's actually really interesting. There was just an update. It kind of was a sleeper update, and I might talk a little bit more about it on another video of sorts. But they made it so that you can send MIDI clock or BPM information from the Fractal unit to either through on the FM9 and on the XFX3 through USB or through the MIDI jacks, and just on the MIDI jacks on the FM3, because the FM3 is not a MIDI over USB piece of equipment. I kind of wish it was, but it is what it is. It's not. So then, you can use your FM3, get some more effects out of this, namely, some thirsty delays and reverbs, and free up your FM3 to do some more stuff, and use your FM3 still as like the command center, doing your tap tempo and stuff from there, and then having your 4 individual effects with scenes and channels and presets and all that good stuff. So it seems like they're kind of going into this expanded companion products. Some interesting things that we see with this. It's a brand new enclosure. Looks to be a lighter enclosure. Let me grab my FM3 here. This is a beast. This is steel plate stuff. This is really heavy. This is my Line 6 HX stump. This is not heavy. This is super light. I love this pedal. This is a guitar pedal for me. Yes, it can function as a complete rig, but I don't often use it as that. Sometimes I use it as that if I'm really traveling light. But this is without a doubt the best guitar pedal I've ever bought because it's so versatile. It has great sounding effects. It has amp modeling and cabinet modeling. When I go to teach, I just bring this and I plug myself into left, my student into right, and I have dedicated presets that have 2 independent guitar chains to facilitate myself and a student. I'm also capping out. There's not much that I can add to those presets because this is, in terms of CPU of what we have available to us today, especially in the Fractal ecosystem, this is lightweight. This is really, really, really weak when it comes to that. If I had 2 amp blocks and 2 cab blocks in my FM3, I probably wouldn't have bought the HX Stomp because I would already have the ability to do that with this. Yeah, you could try to work out an amp block and a drive block and go into the same cab block and do that sort of thing, but, it's something I might try a little bit later. But there's also another elephant in the room, and that's just the sheer size of this. Like, look at this. FM3 is probably off the camera right now. But the FM3 is a good amount heavier, and it's probably 3 times the size of the HX Stomp. This, to me, though, is a more complete rig. I'm taking this and only this. Usually when I'm taking this and only this, that's it. If I need more switches and if I need more horsepower, I take my FM9. If I need the most horsepower and the most flexible everything, I bring my XFX rack with my wireless and my in-ears and a host of other things that is in that rack. So I like the modularity in their complete rigs. We don't see a complete rig here. We see a new enclosure that's going to be lighter, pedalboard friendly. And again, because this is a miss for me, I'm going to pass it up. It's not a product for me. But it shows us there might be other things in the future that I might get really excited about for Fractal, especially because we have this new enclosure and some new like switch type stuff. The overall fractal ecosystem, the FC6s, the FM3, the FC12, and the FM9 all share this same basic enclosure. It's just a matter of how long it is. There might be something similar with this enclosure that I would really look forward to. I might be speculating here, but I've often wished, because I love this little pedal. I can take it anywhere. Take it on a plane. I can throw it in a guitar bag. I can throw it in, I just did a review of the Hendrickson Bud. I can throw this in the front pouch of the Hendrickson Bud, and I can use it. I can almost fully function with this as a complete rig. But my big gripe about this, aside from the horsepower, is the foot switching isn't as gig flexible as I would like it to be. I can't bounce back and forth between snapshots and pedals. I need an additional thing to do that, or an additional number of things to do anything that I could really very easily do on the FM3 with its 3 switches, because they have a press, they have a hold function. You can go through multiple different layouts of your switches, different views in each layout. It's highly flexible. That's why the FM3 is more of a rig for me, and this is more of a pedal for me that I can sometimes get away with using as just my sole rig if I only need like 3 sounds or 2 sounds with a tap tempo. Otherwise, I'd have to put it mounted on a pedal board, plug some other pedals into it, and I just don't want to have all of those things kind of, all those cables, wrapped around and everything. I've done it. I've mounted it on a board, and I've used it with my Morningstar MC6 Pro, which works great. It's nice and compact. But when I get it mounted on the pedal board and I have all these things and I'm plugging all these things in, it's not that much more convenient than just grabbing my FM9. But what if, and again, this is a big what if Fractal was using this enclosure and this sort of new VP ecosystem? What if they cut off a switch from this and had a 3-pedal version with the same like press and hold and views and all of that stuff, but they had it in a smaller, lighter enclosure with the amp modeling? I would buy it right now today. That would be amazing. I've often said, if Fractal made something like this size with their amp modeling and effects, even if it's lower horsepower, I don't care. I would take it just for the sheer convenience of the small package. And I've also often said, like, I'm ready for HX Stomp 2. I'm ready for a little bit more horsepower out of the HX Stomp, which Fractal would, of course, give us. And not to completely beat the comparison over the head with this, but if we take a look at Line 6's other global Helix architecture, all of the products in that ecosystem, they have the Helix rack, the Helix floor, their main unit, really, and then the Helix LT. And then you get into the branched off HX effects. This is kind of like an HX effects. Then you have the HX Stomp. And then you have like some of the other stuff like the Podgo and some of the other Helix adjacent things. But they also have Helix plugin, Helix native as a VST. That would be really interesting to see from Fractal. You can use Fractal's amp modeling as a plugin. Take your sounds, your presets, your tones from your recording, put it directly onto a hardware unit, go gig with it, and bounce back and forth. You dial in something new on your device, bring it into the VST, and yada, 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 and then also maybe have another 3-pedal version of this, very similar enclosure, just a little bit less, a little more compact, that would be almost like Fractal's version of the HX Stomp. That would really, really, really excite me. Maybe this is a bridge product for people that aren't quite into the Fractal thing yet. Maybe we'll see something like that in the future. I don't know. It's all speculation for me at this point. I think it's a good product. It's just not for me. I'm not going to rush out to buy one. It's not going to replace any pieces of gear for me. And those are my thoughts. So let me know what you think in the comment space below. My name is Matthew Dale. I'll see you in the next video.